The lowest point in my life was when I got arrested, and when I came out of the police cell, I had a conversation with my mum and she asked me never to call her mum again. My life was pretty much a roller coaster growing up. I grew up from as young as I can remember. I was just terrified of the dark. I couldn't sleep at night. I was terrified of being alone. I used to hear voices, I used to see shadows in my room. I used to see my bed covers moving off my body. I used to wake up with bruises on my neck, scratches on my fingertips. At home, my dad was very much a disciplinarian. And so with that being said, he was very strict when it came to education, when it came to school, learning, and I was very much the opposite. I didn't like any of that stuff simply because he liked it. I remember sometimes when I would come home, I would bring homework from school. It was awful because I knew I couldn't do the homework. I didn't understand what the homework was requiring for me to do. And so because of that, my dad would hit me all the time. He was borderline abusive and I would just get beaten. I didn't understand why I was getting beaten. I didn't understand the question. It was just all confusing to me. But then I would see the treatment of my sister, who, was very, very good academically. She would get lots of love, lots of attention, and lots of sort of care in terms of trying to, figure out the answer for certain questions in her homework. So with that being said, when I went to school, I was very much different. I was always trying to seek for attention, the attention that I obviously didn't get at home. I was always the class clown. I was always trying to, muck about, make everyone laugh. I never took education seriously. So because of that, I didn't really leave school with anything to sort of, be proud of, really. At the age of 14 is when I actually made the transition from living with my dad to live with my mum. The relationship between me and my dad was very, very bad. It was awful. I actually made the choice to move into my mum's house. At that point, because my dad was very, very tough, he was very strict with rules and discipline, but my mum was the complete opposite. She was very soft. And so I took that as an opportunity to be a bit more rebellious at school and obviously on the streets as well. Around about the age of 16, that's when I started really deep diving into rebellious behavior, antisocial behavior, and that's obviously when I joined a gang. We used to steal lots of different things, different phones, different value items basically. We always had a target. So I remember one particular time when it was actually after an exam, after my GCSE exam, and I knew I had failed. There was just no point in me sort of trying to cover that up. And so a friend invited me for us to go out on something called Eats. So basically we used to go out and basically steal phones, etc. And we took his dog, and that was the day I actually ended up getting arrested. And I went to the police cell and I was there for at least 12 hours. I was just thinking about everything that was, everything that I had done, the people that I had hurt. I remember going home and I had a conversation with my mum. I was saying, look, Mum, can you just, and she stopped me halfway through the conversation. She said, look, from now on, I never ever want you to call me Mum. Never in your life call me Mum. I just remember feeling so heartbroken. And this was the first time I'd actually sort of thought about how much my behavior had impacted her, because our relationship was quite good. And I just remember walking into my room, falling to my knees and just bursting out crying. I was so heartbroken that I had pushed my mum to that limit. And so from that point, even though it was such a heartbreaking moment, it still didn't change me. So at the age of 18, my life was at a point where I had to make a decision on what I really wanted. My life was obviously going downhill. The friends that I was hanging around with were obviously not a good influence. The path in which I was taking was very, very destructive. And at this point, I had a conversation with my mum, who saw how bad the situation was. So she actually invited me to the Universal Church. That's when I started taking things a lot more seriously. So as years went by and I was in the church, I'd seen lots of different things happen in my life. I achieved lots of different goals, which was great. But the one thing that I still lacked was the life transformation of the Holy Spirit. And that was something that I still really needed in order for my life transformation to be complete. At the time, I had met my wife, and we had both experienced great changes within our life.
And when we first met, there was no instant attraction because we were just focused on what we wanted to do. We always wanted to be the best version of ourselves. The moment where I started to notice Oliver was when I was at a moment in my life which was quite difficult. So he was the person who actually brought me back to the church, because fast forwarding, I left the church. And when I left, he was the person that was still contacting me and trying to get me to come back to the church.
Even though we had achieved quite a lot of blessings, etc., we both saw the need for us to seek for the Holy Spirit and to really truly be transformed from the inside within our character and our behavior. When it came to the point of taking part in a campaign of faith, I remember being so revolted that I wanted this life transformation to really happen. I wanted the Holy Spirit so desperately. And I remember I watched the testimony of a lady from Brazil actually, and she said that she wanted the Holy Spirit so badly that she told the Holy Spirit that if she didn't receive him, then she just wanted to die. And I went in that same spirit, I went in that same faith. I said to God, look, I'm giving you 21 days to change my life. If I don't receive the Holy Spirit by the 22nd day, I want you to kill me. And at the time, I wanted to truly show God how desperately, how much I truly wanted him. So at that point, I put everything on the altar. I put absolutely everything, because I wanted to show God that I was serious about the decision that I had made to truly receive him. It was me constantly trying my best to always do everything that I could to please him. And then at the end of that campaign of faith, I remember receiving the Holy Spirit. And when I did, it was a day that I would never ever forget.
After receiving the Holy Spirit, Oliver, as I said, is a different person. And now we both have the Holy Spirit. We're both able to give, because before we couldn't give because we had nothing to give. So now we're able to give, and we give with joy.
I remember it was when I placed my sacrifice on the altar, it was like God was confirming that everything that I had thought about, everything that I had determined with him in secret, was being rewarded openly. So my life today is, I would say, picture perfect in every single way, because not only do I have peace inside of me, not only am I content with myself, I don't need to sort of force a persona to sort of be the loudest person in the room to be noticed. Got a great career within the recruitment sector. I work for a great company, happily married. When it comes to the relationship with my dad, I actually don't have any sort of animosity, any sort of anger, grudges towards him whatsoever. We actually have quite a great relationship now. Today, my wife and I are both a part of a community group where we help young people who are pretty much, or who were pretty much in the same situation as we were when we were younger. We help them, with singing, dancing, acting, and we give them advice and tips, biblically based advice.
We're giving a bit of us that God has given to us. So we're giving to these teens what we've received. So this chance to also receive the Holy Spirit, this chance to also get to know God, we're also being in that position to give to them.
I have joy, I have happiness. The clear difference between the person that I was before and the person that I am today is the sincerity before God. Everything that I have is simply because I am sincere before God at all times. If I made a mistake in the past, it was something that I would try to hide from God. It was something that I would try to hide away from people, because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to feel as if like I was the only person that was going through it. But now I can be completely transparent because there's nothing to hide. And sincerity is a huge thing when it comes to God. Everything that I have is simply because I have the Holy Spirit, and I wouldn't have anything I have if it wasn't for the Holy Spirit.